guys, and welcome to my first episode of Greater Greatness. I'm Jack, and the army that I'm doing for this project is the Astra Militarum, as you can probably see what we got on screen. So, like the other guys doing this, I've decided to start a new army. I took a really long time trying out loads of different armies, trying to figure out what I wanted to run, and eventually I came across the Astra Militarum. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I wanted to do the Astra Militarum. The first reason for me is I just love the style, right? The aura, as the kids might say, of the Astra Militarum. That kind of when I think of different media that uses the kind of stereotypes that the Guard often use, I'm thinking like Starship Troopers. You know, I love that movie. The Marines from Halo, I think of them as well. They're just like that kind of normal humans fighting against aliens is just a really cool style for me. I also like the idea that, especially in 40k, where they are fighting against such overwhelming odds, like just normal people against the most horrific things you could possibly imagine. Do they really stand a chance? No, but they stand up against it and they fight anyway, which is way braver than a Space Marine, in my opinion. Another reason I wanted to do them was they look awesome on the tabletop. When I'm going around tournaments, it's always the Guard armies that I look at when they're halfway through a game, and you just have like little squads of guardsmen across the board, like just holding on desperately onto objectives and things like that. And that's just a really nice look, I think, when they're just sat on the board, just trying to desperately hold on and hold the line. I love that. The Caiaphas Cain books are a really big inspiration to me. I've read them all. I've read them all twice at least. And the way that they're portrayed in there they're just so interesting. They seem so much more than they are what we know them to be on the tabletop. Which I don't know if that's going to create a disconnect for me. And yeah, I really like the way that they are portrayed in those books. And then there's also a few other books. The Firecast is one I'm reading at the moment as well, which has got Tau in it, my other army, and I really like the way that they're portrayed there as well. And then the last reason is I really love the design of the codex from like a gameplay standpoint. I think the Guard Codex probably stands up there alongside the Necron Codex, and from a certain point of view, the Eldar Codex are some of the best designed codexes in the game right now. It feels like everything is just like there's nothing that's just bad in there. You know, nothing that you can just like. There's no reason you would ever take that. Everything is at least sort of usable, taken from like a detachment and rules point of view, which I think it gives the book a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity to try different things, which I really like. So, what are my goals for this army? I want to try and stay on at least one unit a month. For no other reason than to just keep myself motivated and on schedule, which I think is really important when you're doing an army project like this. I kind of just don't want to let it sit in a cupboard somewhere and just get forgotten about. That's kind of what I want to avoid. I also want to stay really consistent with this. So something that I've noticed with other armies I've done is that my standards tend to slip the longer I do the army, but I really want to try and stay consistent across the whole thing and make it all kind of look uniform. So that's kind of the goal with this one. And then we have like a stretch goal of doing an event this year. I think if I keep onto my schedule of 1 unit a month, there is absolutely no chance of me getting to an event this year with this army, because there's just the quantity of models that you'd have to paint for that to be the case. It's just probably not going to happen. But if I get really into it and just start smashing out models, then by all means, like that'd be something that I would love to do. Okay. So what's the plan? Well, the plan at the moment is we currently have, in terms of around me, things that I have around me, we've got Cadia Stan's box, the release box from 9th edition. We've got one Leman Russ battle tank kit. We've got a Cadian heavy weapon kit. I want to get all of that sort of built together kind of as soon as possible and painted. Maybe it'd take like sort of 3 months. I want to try and get that all done and dusted. in terms of what I want to get, I would like to get a commissar. I just think they have a lot of personality, and as I said before, I really love the Commissar Kane book. So to be able to have a Commissar in my army somewhere, he's only 35 points. I'm sure I can find that to put in a just that model to get in there somewhere. That'd be really cool. Rough Riders. So this army that I want to do, I really like the Cadians in terms of guard models. They're the regiment that I think is the coolest. Mainly just because of their look, and as I say, they remind me of the Halo Marines, all those kind of like what other fantasy, other sci-fi was would call Space Marines, right? The guys fighting aliens in space. That's kind of what I want to go for. So I would like to get some Rough Riders and then convert them to be Cadian Rough Riders. I've heard that if you put Cadian heads on the Rough Rider models, they look quite good and that quite fits quite well. So I would like to try and do some of that. See if we can get that going. That'd be really cool because I like the Rough Riders as a concept, as an idea, and as like a gameplay thing. I don't know if they're actually any good, but I really like them. So yeah, that would be cool. So that's probably going to be looking at one of the new combat patrols for me to get. Is probably the easiest way to get those. Kasakin is something else I want to look at. If I'm doing a Cadian army, then Kasakin are kind of a absolute requirement. Cadian special forces, like what's not to like there. And then also some Scions. Again, it's mainly just because they remind me of ODSTs. And I just think that's awesome. But it has a lot of sort of dynamism to the army with a deep strike unit that you can sort of just gives you a bit more play on the board, which I think could be fun and interesting. And then I may paint them in like a different scheme because they're part of the Schola Progenium. They're not like part of the regiment, which is another thing that really interests me is that the different the organization and the regiments of the guard are quite cool. That makes my brain happy thinking about that sort of stuff. Right, so the project so far. So I've got some test models here. These are the 2 test models I've done. I'm not sure which scheme I'm going to go for as of yet. Basically, what this is it's a sort of a brown for the legs, with a darker brown for the kind of leg. I'm sure there's a proper name for it. These kind of leg straps, as well as some like backpacks, stuff like that. And then basically, the ones on the right, I've done Castellan green, and then I've washed the entire model with Agrax Earth, and then I've dry brushed the entire model with I can't remember what the color is. It's not powdered witch flesh; it's whatever the new one's called. But yeah, I've got to dry brush the whole thing with that, and that's an attempt to tie it together. That kind of makes the ones on the right look like really dark and kind of grungy. But I'm not sure if the highlight on the green kind of works. I'm not sure if that's too dark. So maybe I'm not sure if that's something that I want to work around. But I really like the way the browns come through, and then the color that I get from the Agrax Earth shade wash over white gives me like the perfect kind of beige color for the coats. So that's kind of just where I want it to be. The ones on the left, the main difference, like all the brown is the same, basically. The main difference is that I didn't do the green at the same time as I did the brown in terms of the wash. So I did the brown and then I just washed the whole thing with, this time it was a 50-50 Agrax Earth and Lamian Medium. So that makes it a lot paler and smoother. As you can see, this is like a much darker color on the right, and then on the left it's a lot more subtle, I think. And then I put the green, and then I dry brushed the whole thing with my definitely not powdered witch flesh color, and then then I did the green afterwards, which was a Castellan green covered with Lothern green, kind of as a over, like leaving the Castellan green in the recesses, which creates like a nice kind of gradient there, I think. And then the metal there has been washed with I can't remember all these new paint names, man. Null oil, with null oil rather than the Agrax shade of the other ones. I decided to do the weapons in green on these rather than brown, which I think I'll probably do regardless. But yeah, that kind of, I'm not sure which one I want to do. I quite like how dark and grungy the ones on the right look, but then the ones on the left, like they also look quite good to me, and the green stands out a lot more, because I'm not quite happy with the green on the right, but I'm not quite sure which way to take it. If you have any like ideas or maybe maybe suggestions of maybe different directions I could go as well, or just opinions on which of these two maybe I should go for, then by all means let me know. And for the basing as well, I'm going to go for like a brown with that same flesh color, pale flesh color, dry brushed over it, and we're going to sort of go for a sort of radioactive, snowy wasteland kind of look. That's kind of like what I'm aiming for. So yeah, I've got a couple of ideas of how to make that work. I kind of want to avoid the baking soda plus PVA approach, because I find that tends to just kind of crumble off after a while. So I'm going to see if I can find alternatives out there that are a bit more hard wearing. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I've just got some test models, like, I just put together a couple of Cadians and painted them, and then I had this random Krieger. I had no idea where I got him from, just to see what they look like. But yeah, any ideas on that, I would very much appreciate those. Any feedback. Right, so next time, what we're going for. So I'm back in a couple of weeks for another update, and I'm going to aim to get the Cadian Command Squad done. And if I'm really into it and I really start smashing it out, I would like to get some mortars in as well. The Cadian Command Squad is really interesting to me. I saw a video from Joshi 40k recently about the Cadian Command Squad with a Ogrim bodyguard, and I think that could be a really fun unit to put on the table, if not necessarily good, but it could be I'm not sure how good it would be, but I really want to try it because it seems like a lot of fun. But I want to get the Cadian Command Squad done first, because that's what I'm going to have. And then mortars, I just really like the idea of indirecting people. I'm sorry, like having played a shooting army without any real indirect for a long time, I just want to be able to destroy those cultists hiding behind a wall. That's all I really want out of life. So yeah, mortars are going to be probably the next one on the list. If you guys have any suggestions for what the best guard kits are, I would love to hear it, because I've not built any of these kits before, so I don't know what ones are particularly good to put together, or if there's any sort of guard cheat codes for building stuff, putting stuff together. I would love to know those. Like, I saw one about making your heavy weapon teams go further with extra legs and stuff like that. So stuff like that is stuff that I really want to know. And if there's any suggestions for conversions, as I say, I want to do the whole army as Cadians. So if there's any really cool conversions anyone's seen, by all means let me know. I would love to see those as well, because there's a lot of really cool potential, I think, there, because the guard range is so wide. There's so much Krieg stuff, there's so much Kachan stuff, like that could, like, could I switch these over to Cadians if I wanted to use them? Like, how could I make that a more Cadian? Because I could do head swaps on all of them, but surely there's got to be more to it than that, right? Or is that all it takes to make them look Cadian? Is that helmet? I'm not sure. But yeah, but please let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, you can throw a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, and you can continue to see these videos and see how I get on with my Astra Militarum journey. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I've been Jack. This has been my guard, and I'll see you next time.